Hi, I'm Ramli Ibrahim. I am dancer, choreographer, and chairman of Sutra Foundation based in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. Thank you, TEDxAIMSTUniversity, for inviting me to speak on arts and culture as nourishment for life. To be physically healthy, we are told we need a balanced diet. At school, we were taught that our body needs the right amount of carbohydrates, protein, and fats to develop and grow. And for our systems to function well, our intake must also contain the right amount of trace elements and vitamins. Though the two latter ingredients are required in small dosages, they are vital to regulate and coordinate the total function of our physical and nervous systems so that our bodily and mental growth can be healthy and well balanced. Metaphorically, arts and culture are these trace elements and vitamins we must consume as food for the soul so that we are able to lead physically, mentally, and emotionally a relatively fulfilling and healthy life. The happiness equation of the individual is unique only to him and has too many variables within this constantly changing environment. The index of comfort level is almost impossible to exactly determine. These multifarious indicators of human contentment are related to the subtle presence of arts and culture in our lives. It is unfortunate when policymakers are not sensitized to fathom the variables of this complex equation of what is fulfilling life, but instead consign the decisions on the flawed index of quantity and profit as the main gauge of evaluating success. Art and culture fertilize the inner landscape of our minds. They affect how we think and live our lives in the deeper and richer sense of the word live. They are the reason why we choose one thing instead of the other. They linked us with our inherent personality. Their presence of art and culture nourish the plants in the landscape garden of our conscious and unconscious mind. They symbiotically connect the various spheres, physical, emotional, and psychical, to impact our personality, mind, and being. Through arts and culture, an individual learns to deal, accept, and come to terms when dealing with relationships. Our very existence in relation to space and time, of joy and sorrow, of success and failure, of guilt, phobias, and obsessions, our acceptance of birth, death, and perhaps rebirth. This is where the potent message of arts and culture delivered by authentic artists, traditional or modern, invites us to reflect on the diverse human conditions as templates and metaphors of life lived. Arts and culture sing the song of the universe, myths of creation and origin. The most authentic deal with the messages that sensitize our humanity so that we are aware of and come to terms with the complexities and challenges of the mortality of life. Arts and culture pose questions which allow the individual to have conversation with himself first so that he may understand the nature of his own inherent personality. Arts and culture transform the individual through realization. The individual may experience and subsequently contemplate on the ephemeral glimpses of the painful beauty and terrifying truth. Art and culture teach us to be mindful. They make us aware of the diversity of life, allowing us to partake in life without dogmatic judgments. This is how an individual is transformed and enlightened. Consequently, the collective transformation of sensitized individuals affects society. As society evolves and becomes more refined and more enlightened, its individuals influence the collective personality of the community. Unlike the world of digital technology, arts and culture are not about information. It is about transformation. Unlike the world of artificial intelligence or AI, arts and culture invite you to ponder on the nature of the authentic instead of artificial intelligence. This is called wisdom. The awareness of the importance of arts and culture is presently more vital than ever in the inculcation of right values in our education system. In Malaysia, we somehow have lost our value systems. With the present exposure of rabid corruption, lack of work ethics and responsibility, we seem to have thrown our values out of the window, even though the religious indoctrination has increased. Arts and culture, by their sheer expressivity and beauty, invite our sensibilities to be more compassionate, simultaneously encouraging us to explore other realms beyond the safe, familiar perspectives from simplistic vantage point. The exposure increases our awareness of the plurality of lifestyles and allow us to come to terms with conflicting attitudes we ourselves may have inadvertently adopted. Ultimately, arts and culture embody the soft power appeal of shared universal aspirations, which is also in accord with nature. Arts and culture open the way for us to foster eternal values of inclusivity when dealing with our lives. In the present climate of ideological extremism, arts and culture represent the level factors that act as antidote to dogmatic stances. They act as leveling factors when they groom us through narratives, parables, and passionate expositions of creativity. They contain positive prudence which have sustained our civilized values and ethos, reminding us of our need to embrace diversity and inclusivity. The message of arts and culture presents the more preferred mode of universal spirituality in the present modern era. We become thinking humans, adopting a more accepting rather than dogmatic attitude in our lives. The cultivation of a holistic personality of our youth, sensitive to the diverse and interrelated ecosystems within which we function, should be the moral responsibility of our educators and those in the position of power to effect a collective change. It is a continuous process of education towards a more civilized and humane global society. We need to be vigilant that the holistic process of education is not hijacked by those with other agendas. The troubled concept of the other is perpetuated by some religions and duly politicized. They originally stemmed from medieval strict tenets of their time which need to undergo reforms for a more inclusive present era. These assertive and inflexible doctrines have caused their alienation from the general estimation of the world population, which advocate a more democratic and inclusive moral and ethical worldview. The present wretched state of affairs have contributed to global divisiveness in many parts of the world, causing humanity much misery and suffering. Over the last few decades, we have witnessed the steady rise of arts and culture and the social sciences as game changers in influencing our choices in how we live our lives. Arts and culture do not preach and advocate the concept of the other. Instead, they celebrate diversity and inclusivity. Verily, arts and culture is that trace elements and vitamins we seek in the nourishment for our souls in partaking harmonious life in this living planet. Thank you.